Well, good evening. Good to see everyone as we join together on this surprisingly not stormy Good Friday. We have missed the weather, and I'm thankful for that. Tonight we gather in the shadow of the cross. We come with Peter following at a distance. We come with questions. We come with fear, with love that sometimes falters. This service is called the Tenebrae. It's Latin, which means the service of shadows, the service of darkness. For centuries, the church has gathered during Holy Week to tell the story of Christ's suffering through Scripture, through prayer, and the gradual extinguishing of the candles. And as each candle is extinguished, we are reminded that we are ever closer to that final breath of Christ. On this night, we remember the one who is betrayed, the one who is denied, the one who still turns us in and loves. As we move through this service of prayer and silence and shadow, we hold before God all that we carry, trusting that even in the darkness, Christ does not turn away. Let us enter this time of worship in quiet reflection. Remember not, Lord Christ, our fear, our silence, and the distance we place between ourselves and your love, but in your mercy draw near to us and preserve us forever. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Or deliver us from all oppression, conspiracy, and rebellion, from violence, war, strife, and tribulation. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. That it may please thee to strengthen the weary, to comfort the fearful, to uphold those who falter, and to give courage to all who are failing and infirm. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. He was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole, and by his bruises we are healed. The disbelief of the disciples.
Now, while Jesus was at Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, a woman came to him with an alabaster jar of very costly ointment, and she poured it on his head as he sat at the table. But when the disciples saw it, they were angry and said, "Why this waste? For this ointment could have been sold for a large sum and the money given to the poor." But Jesus, aware of this, said to them, "Why do you trouble the woman? She has performed a good service for me. For you always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me. By pouring this ointment on my body, she has prepared me for burial. Truly, I tell you, wherever this good news is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will be told in remembrance of her." Then one of the 12, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, "What will you give me if I betray him to you?" They paid him 30 pieces of silver. And from that moment, he began to look for an opportunity to betray him.
When it was evening, he took his place with the 12 disciples. And while they were eating, he said, "Truly, I tell you, one of you will betray me." And they became greatly distressed and began to say to him one after another, "Surely not I, Lord." He answered, "The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that one by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that one not to have been born." Judas, who betrayed him, said, "Surely not I, Rabbi." He replied, "You have said so." When they had sung the hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus said to them, "You will all fall away because of me this night, for it is written, 'I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered.' But after I am raised up, I will go ahead of you to Galilee." Peter said to him, "Even if all fall away because of you, I will never fall away." Jesus said to him, "Truly, I tell you, this very night, before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. Peter said to him, "Even though I must die with you, I will not deny you." And so said all the disciples.
They went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took with him Peter and James and John and began to be distressed and agitated. And he said to them, "My soul is deeply grieved, even to death. Remain here and keep awake." And going a little further, he threw himself on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. He said, "Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I want, but what you want." He came and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Could you not keep awake for 1 hour? Keep awake and pray that you may not come into the time of trial. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." And again he went away and prayed, saying the same words. And once more he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy, and they did not know what to say to him. He came a third time and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Enough! The hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up, let us be going. Look, my betrayer is at hand."
While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "The one I will kiss is the man. Arrest him." At once he came up to Jesus and said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus said to him, "Friend, do what you are here to do." Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and arrested him. Suddenly, one of those with Jesus pulled his hand on his sword, drew it, and struck the slave of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Then Jesus said to him, "Put your sword back into its place, for all who take the sword will die by the sword. Do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled, which say it must happen in this way?" At that hour, Jesus said to the crowds, "Have you come out with swords and clubs to arrest me, as though I were a rebel? Day after day I sat in the temple teaching, and you did not arrest me. But all this has taken place so that the scriptures of the prophets may be fulfilled." Then all the disciples deserted him and fled.
Then they seized him and led him away, bringing him into the high priest's house. But Peter was following at a distance. When they had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat among them. Then a female servant, seeing him in the firelight, stared at him and said, "This man also was with him." But he denied it, saying, "Woman, I do not know him." A little later, someone else, on seeing him, said, "You also are one of them." But Peter said, "Man, I am not." Then, about an hour later, still another kept insisting, "Surely this man also was with him, for he is a Galilean." But Peter said, "Man, I do not know what you are talking about." At that moment, while he was still speaking, the cock crowed. The Lord turned and looked at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had said to him, "Before the cock crows today, you will deny me 3 times." And he went out and wept bitterly.
Peter follows, but he follows at a distance, close enough to see what is happening, but far enough away to stay safe. He's in the courtyard. He can watch, he can listen, he can track what is unfolding, but he doesn't want to be too close. Not close enough to be identified, not close enough to be pulled into the chaos, not close enough to share in whatever consequences might come. And we understand this because we don't want to be that close either. He's not working against Christ. Peter is not the enemy in this gospel reading that we just read. Peter is not the one preparing to arrest Jesus. Peter is not the one who will mock Jesus. He is not the one who will strike Jesus. He is not the one who will shout the accusations. Peter is just there, quietly present, quietly supportive, quietly loyal, but at a distance. And the truth is, Peter's choice is not irrational. By this point, Jesus has already set his face toward Jerusalem. The arrest has happened. The machinery of the empire is already in motion. And I mean, Rome does what Rome does. And once someone is caught in the gears of Rome, the outcome, it's inevitable. If Peter had stood up and said, "Yes, I am with him," would that have changed things? Would that have changed Jesus' fate? The cross was coming. The empire was already moving. Peter's courage would not stop Rome. So Peter is not choosing between saving Jesus and abandoning him, because there is no saving Jesus at this point. Peter is choosing between making himself known and surviving, breathing. And so given those options, he chooses what a lot of us would probably choose. He wants to keep surviving. He chooses distance. He warms himself by the fire, he blends in, he listens to others, and when questioned, he denies even knowing Jesus, not once, not twice, but 3 times. This is not a dramatic betrayal. This is not Peter coming up to Jesus and giving him a kiss on the cheek. This is the quiet ally, the one who believes but stays silent, the one who supports but from a distance, the one who loves but what will people say? What will people do? What if they unfriend me? This moment echoes some of the things Martin Luther King Jr. wrote about from a jail cell, that in the end we remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Peter is not the enemy in this gospel. Peter is the friend. Peter is the one in this story who cares, and yet he is the one who cares at a distance. Because this is what happens when empire is winning, when speaking up will not change the outcome, when courage may bring consequence, when silence feels safer, when distance feels wise. Peter is living in that tension, and many of us know that tension too. When the decisions already seem beyond our control, why keep pushing? And then we hear the third denial. And while he is still speaking, the rooster crows. I was really hoping we could get the chicken trained out there. The rooster crows. And Luke tells us that the Lord turned and he looked at Peter. And the word turned here really matters because it's not so much the Greek of it, it is the direction of it. Jesus does not turn away from Peter, he turns toward Jesus. Jesus turns toward Peter, that even in this moment of denial, that Jesus faces him. Peter has created distance, but Jesus continues the embrace of love with what he can. And then as Jesus looks at him, it is not a passing glance. The word that Luke uses here is emblepo, which means to look intently, to fix one's gaze, to look directly into someone. Deliberate eye contact. This is not some accidental eye contact that us Norwegians sometimes become afraid of. This is not the stuff that makes Norwegians nervous. This is on purpose. Jesus sees Peter fully. And more than that, Peter himself, he knows that he is seen. He feels it. And in that moment of being known, Peter goes out and he weeps. Not just a few quiet tears, but Luke describes this as some kind of gut-level sobbing, the kind of crying that makes your shoulders shake, the kind that comes when you have realized that something inside you has just broken. And Peter does not weep, I think, because he failed to stop the cross. He knows he could not have changed that. I think Peter weeps here because he created the distance between himself and love. He stayed safe while Jesus stood alone. He supported quietly, but he could not stand publicly when it mattered. He followed Jesus all the way to Jerusalem, and then he kept his distance. And now he's outside, weeping and alone. The courtyard fades behind him, the firelight disappears, the voices grow distant, Jesus is still being led away, empire is still in motion, the night continues exactly as it was, nothing has changed around him, and yet something has changed inside him. Peter has now felt the weight of distance. He has now experienced the cost of silence. He has now seen what fear can do within himself. He followed Jesus, but not close enough. He believed, but not willing in that moment. He loved, but Jesus knows that, right? And Peter knows it. Peter's courage would not have stopped the cross, but his silence breaks him, and he weeps. And that's where the story of Peter ends, right? No? This is the beginning of his own self-reformation, and perhaps with Peter, our own self-reformations. Because sometimes transformation does not begin with courage, but sometimes it begins with recognition within ourselves that we wish for things to be different. In this moment where we can see ourselves more clearly, in this moment where we ache that the distance between ourselves and love is reduced. Peter's choices on that night might not have changed the empire one way or another, but something has begun to change within him. And that change doesn't happen all at once. Courage grows in the recognition. Even those we remember who have bold voices, sometimes it takes time to get there. Martin Luther King Jr., you know the guy? He wrestled with that tension. He spoke about the pressure to wait, the call to be patient. And he had actually been selected at the time to be that new voice because he was young and a lot of people didn't really know all that much about him, and he hadn't been a rabble-rouser so far, so maybe he was a good, safe bet that he wouldn't rock the boat too much. Later, he even wrote about the temptation to hold back when the outcome seemed unlikely to change. When pushing too hard meant putting not only his career at risk, but his family and himself. And from a jail cell, he wrote that for years he had heard the word wait, and that he realized that the word wait almost always meant never. Martin Luther King Jr. came to realize what it meant to hesitate, to count the cost, to wonder whether speaking boldly would change a thing. and yet sometimes shifts in a person when they recognize that distance and silence, they have a cost. Something forms when we see clearly the damage being done in the moments that we hold ourselves back as we see the wax melt. Peter may not have changed empire that night, no matter what he did. Rome will still move forward. The cross will still come. The machinery of power will not stop. But the story doesn't end there either. Because the one who stayed silent in the courtyard that night will one day speak in Jerusalem. The one who denied Jesus 3 times before the cock crowed will one day proclaim him publicly. The one who followed at a distance will step in despite of fear. For us, the night of distance becomes a seed of courage, a seed of recognition in what's going on in the world and in ourselves. We see that for Peter because later he steps out, not because he's made brave in this moment, but because he has experienced the cost of silence and he has looked love in the face and he has wept. But the cross leads to resurrection, fear gives way to proclamation, and a scattered group will become a movement. The gospel will spread from that darkened night, and the story will continue. And Peter, this man weeping in the darkness, will become a voice of that story. And I can't help but wonder if it all begins right here tonight. In the gaze of love, in the bitter weeping, that this is where the reformation of Peter happens. Not in triumph, not in courage, but in being seen in the midst of his weakness, and discovering that while he was not willing to stand by Jesus, that his Messiah was still willing to stand beside him. And perhaps for us tonight in this Tenebrae service, in the service of shadows, the service of darkness, perhaps that is the good news for us tonight. That God's love refuses to let fear have the final say. So we continue. And more importantly, God's love continues as God's love steps forward for your sake and for mine.
Then they took Jesus from Caiaphas to Pilate's headquarters. It was early in the morning. They themselves did not enter the headquarters so as to avoid ritual defilement and to be able to eat the Passover. So Pilate went out to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" They answered, "If this man were not a criminal, we would not have handed him over to you." Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and judge him according to your law." The Jews replied, "We are not permitted to put anyone to death." This was to fulfill what Jesus had said when he indicated the kind of death he was to die. Then Pilate entered the headquarters again, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you ask this on your own? Or did others tell you about me?" Pilate replied, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom does not belong of this world. If my kingdom belonged to this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." Pilate asked him, "So you are the king of the Jews?" And Jesus answered, "You say that I am king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." Pilate asked him, "What is truth?"
After he had said this, he went out to the Jews again and told them, "I find no case against him, but you have a custom that I release someone for you at the Passover. Do you want me to release for you the King of the Jews?" And they shouted in reply, "Not this man, but Barabbas." And now Barabbas was a rebel. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. And the soldiers wove a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they dressed him in a purple robe. They kept coming up to him saying, "Hail, King of the Jews," and striking him on the face. Pilate went out again and said to them, "Look, I am bringing him out to you to let you know that I find no case against him." So Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. Pilate said to them, "Behold the man." When the chief priests and the police saw him, they shouted, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and crucify him. I find no case against him." The Jews answered him, "We have a law, and according to that law, he ought to die because he has claimed to be the Son of God." Now, when Pilate heard this, he was more afraid than ever. He entered his headquarters again and asked Jesus, "Where are you from?" But Jesus gave him no answer. Pilate therefore said to him, "Do you refuse to speak to me? Do you not know that I have the power to release you and the power to crucify you?" Jesus answered him, "You would have no power over me unless it had been given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a great sin." From then on, Pilate tried to release him, but the Jews cried out, "If you release this man, you are no friend to Caesar. Everyone who claims to be a king sets himself against Caesar."
When Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus outside and sat on the judge's seat at a place called the Stone Pavement, or in Hebrew, Gabbatha. Now it was the day of preparation for Passover, and it was about noon. He said to the Jews, "Here is your king." They cried, "Away with him! Away with him! Crucify him!" Pilate asked them, "Shall I crucify your king?" The chief priests answered, "We have no king but Caesar." Then he handed him over to them to be crucified.
Meanwhile, standing near the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing beside her, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his own home. After this, when Jesus knew that all was now finished, he said, in order to fulfill the scripture, "I am thirsty." A jar full of sour wine was standing there, so they put a sponge full of the wine on a branch of hyssop and held it to his mouth.
It was about noon, and darkness covered the land until 3. And at 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Now there were those around him who heard him say this, and they began to say to one another, "Listen to him. Listen to him. He is calling for Elijah." And one of them ran, and he grabbed a sponge, and he took a stick, and he stuck it on the stick, and he dipped it and filled it with sour wine. And he offered it to Jesus. And he said, Wait, let us see if Elijah comes and takes him down." Then Jesus cried out in a loud voice, and he breathed his last. He breathed his last. The curtain in the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And when the centurion who stood in front of Jesus and was facing him saw the way in which he had died, he said, "Truly, this man was the Son of God."
When it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who was also himself a disciple of Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered it to be given to him. So Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his new tomb, which he had hewn in the rock. He then rolled a great stone to the door of the tomb and went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there, sitting opposite the tomb.
The next day, that is, after the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate and said, "Sir, we remember what that impostor said while he was still alive. After 3 days, I will rise again. Therefore, command the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day. Otherwise, his disciples may go and steal him away and tell the people he has been raised from the dead. And the last deception will be worse than the first." Pilate said to them, "You have a guard of soldiers. Go. Make it as secure as you can."
So they went with the guard and made the tomb secure by sealing the stone.